This is Now Breakfast.
In other conversations this morning, we take you all the way to Ondo State, where Lucky Aiyedatiwa has been sworn in as the governor following the death of his principal, Rotimi Akeredolu. According to the Ondo Commissioner for Information and Orientation, former Governor Akeredolu died from complications of prostate cancer. He had been away ill for a short period and had recently returned from a trip in Germany but could not resume office fully. This had many calling for his resignation or the doctrine of necessity to be used during the illness, or the doctrine of necessity which was used during the illness of late President Umaru Musa Yar'Adua to be used in this stead. Today, our conversation discusses what the death of Governor Akeredolu means for politics in the state. We're joined by Professor Busui Mekusi, who is a university lecturer and public affairs analyst. Good morning and welcome to the conversation, Professor.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. Good morning, dear listeners.
It's a pleasure to have you on. As we know, Governor Aiyedatiwa has taken office and he started things off very sharply. In the context of what brought him to office, how is Ondo State reacting at the moment?
Well, it is a matter of a mixed reaction, like you know, in politics. Politics is a function of interest, and it depends on whose interest we're talking about here. But generally speaking, the assumption of office of Aiyedatiwa has brought palpable peace and stability to the state. That is considering the past hula baloo we had around who should be in the saddle, starting from the attempt to impeach him to the need for him to be made the acting governor. Even when, like you also reviewed, some felt he should be made the substantive governor because they felt Akeredolu was incapacitated. We also saw the intervention of the President of the Federal Republic, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So for me, this is an accentuation of constitutionality. The Constitution, which is supreme as the grand norm in democratic governance, has just come to play. And we'll be expecting more changes in terms of the actors in governance, in government, and we will see more in days to come. There have been insinuations about some individuals tendering their resignation letter, and few appointments have been made by the new governor, Aiyedatiwa, and we expect more of this. And this is also going to affect the political climate because of the ambition. And we shouldn't also forget that one of the issues that some people had against Aiyedatiwa was because he had the ambition of succeeding his former principal, the late governor, as if that was also a crime or an offense. So we are going to see there going to be new dimensions introduced to the political climate, and things will continue to unfold as things also proceed.
Professor, you speak to the appointments of some people now that Aiyedatiwa has become governor. What do you make of his appointments, these first few steps that he's making politically?
Well, the few appointments he has made, that he made yesterday, that of the chief press secretary, we know how fundamental the rules of the chief press secretary are. The former one had to resign yesterday, and Adeniyo is the new, Ebenezer Adeniyo is the new chief press secretary. He has appointed about 3 other special assistants. These are people who are close to him. Particularly, there is one for domestic affairs and government house. There is another one for photography. So these are people we can refer to as his close personal aide. But talking about the larger appointments like members of cabinet, I'm very sure you will be very careful to want to do something. And we shouldn't also forget that some members of this cabinet were the ones that constituted this celebrated cabal, okay? And some of them also have ambition of succeeding the former governor. So, like I say, it's a function of interest. But as an analyst, it is true that Aiyedatiwa now has the reign of power with him. But I'm very sure, too, there are decisions he will have to take after clarifying with the leadership of his party, so that none of these things will backfire. I feel so. But I'm very sure there are individuals, the general talks, who felt that some individuals should be kicked out if they are not in a hurry to throw in the towel. So Aiyedatiwa knows it better. It is true that now he is the governor, but we shouldn't also forget that Fubara is the governor of Rivers State, and he had some ruffles, and there was an Abuja intervention that needed to save him. So we need to also countenance some of these intrigues in the way to go.
Professor, these initial appointments are interesting because, first of all, about 2 or 3 of them are media appointments, and then the other 2 political matters and local government. So you get a sense of where Governor Aiyedatiwa is, or where his head is at the moment in terms of what he wants to do, control the public image, but also do enough at the local level. However, there's a looming thing ahead. By November next year, people of Ondo return to the polls to elect a new governor. Expectations are that he will run. You'd already mentioned that he was expecting or wanted to take over, succeed his principal. How do you see this timeline, this looming timeline, affecting his ability to govern over the next year?
Well, like you said, the few appointments he has made are made for him to hit the ground running without necessarily tampering with this larger other layer of governors, particularly the members of the cabinet. So with what he has done, he will be able to begin to do some things. And we shouldn't also forget that LCDAs were created in the state and caretakers were appointed for them. But there was a court injunction restraining these individuals from parading themselves as caretaker committee members. So the local government is in limbo as we speak. And what Aiyedatiwa will also want to do would be to get his people to also fix the political structure in the state. And if he's going to do that, he can either do that through the caretaker chairman at the level of the local government or members of cabinet. Like I said, he may want not to jump into the bigger ocean of the cabinet by announcing a blanket dissolution. He may want to have some consultations, but definitely that cabinet, the cabinet he inherited, will not hold. It is not going to work because there will be strikes again. There will be collusion, and we shouldn't also forget that now is the chief executive. He's no longer responsible to anybody. So he may just decide to say, look, I want to do what is right, and I want to face governance. But even before the election, general election is November, but the party primaries must be held by April. So which means he has very limited time for him to stabilize in terms of possessing the political structure in the state. So that is before the general election. So it is when he becomes the candidate of the party that he can run in the general election. So the choice is his, whether he wants to spend the remaining time that he jointly owned with Akeredolu, for which he is now presiding over. He wants to spend it resourcefully, effectively, and inscribe governance in the state, or whether he also wants to play politics along the line. So if he's standing with the first one, if it is good governance, I'm very sure he won't have issues. He will be able to deliver on whatever mandate he's setting for himself.
Well,
but if he wants to do that together with politics, I'm very sure that will also be very distracting for him.
Professor, I guess it's a matter of time and we'll see how it unfolds. We want to say a big thank you for your thoughts and for joining us on the conversation. Professor Busui Mekusi is a university lecturer and public affairs analyst, joining us to discuss the political developments in Ondo State as Lucky Aiyedatiwa was sworn into office yesterday following the demise of former Governor Akeredolu. And in just a few minutes, Now Breakfast returns with Keeping Up with the National Assembly. Stick around.
This is Radio Now 95.3 FM. Come for the news, stay for informed conversations.
You're welcome back into it. It is time to keep up with the National Assembly, which we should start by telling you is on recess for the Christmas holiday. Now, the passing of the 2024 budget for the president to sign on or before the 1st of January is still on the front burner for the National Assembly. But because the National Assembly did not meet this week, we're going to be reviewing whether there is still time to pass the budget. I mean, it has to be passed, but with the timeline that we have currently, we're looking at how soon this can be done. We're also going to be reviewing the 10th National Assembly, who were inaugurated on the 13th of June, and that review is going to be done with the National Assembly correspondent of the Premium Times, Mr. Abdul Kudus Ogundakpo, who joins us this morning. Mr. Ogundakpo, thank you for joining us on the conversation.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Right. I would like to begin. The budget for 2024 has not been signed just yet. Do you think that the National Assembly can get it done, I reckon, in the first week of next year?
Thank you for inviting me to join the program today. Let me start by noting the fact that presentation of budget to the Nigerian Parliament is not a new thing. But I think what was abruptly introduced was the chanting of a solidarity song in the Parliament. Chanting your mandate, which has stand and all that in the Parliament. I feel the legislators are not democratic enough in that area. However, as it stands, the budget is still ongoing. I mean, the budget defense is still ongoing. And many ministries and agencies are still defending their budget for the 2024 fiscal year. So presently, I'm not sure anybody can predict when it will be passed. Otherwise, it may turn out to be a wrong prediction. Before now, we've been seeing reports that the Senate may pass budget last week, 2 weeks ago, and all that. So to me, I feel it will be a wrong prediction to say that the National Assembly may pass the budget in so date. It is only the Senate or the House of Rep that has the sole mandate to announce when the budget will be passed. However, they've gone for the Christmas break, I think last week, so they will be reconvening on Saturday. So let's see what happens on Saturday, if they will be passing on Saturday. But I am sure, based on what the Senate President has promised, that the budget will be passed before the end of the year.
So, Mr. Ogundakpo, I'd like us to explore what the alternative is. The previous National Assembly prided themselves in returning to a fiscal cycle. And this National Assembly, they've been touting, look, we need to do this and get it passed before the year is over, get it to the president's desk for signing. So if they're not able to, are there any implications, whether they be political or even for just national matters, governance issues?
I don't think there is any implication. It's just a tradition. It's just a tradition facilitated by the Ninth Assembly. So I think, and based on what this present Senate leadership has promised, even the House of Rep also promised to say that they will maintain the January to December budget cycle. Of course, if they will maintain that, so it's possible, or it's not even possible. It's definitely that the budget will be signed before end of the year.
Right. You have spoken about the chanting of a solidarity song in the 10th National Assembly. I wonder if there are any other things that stood out for you in this particular assembly.
If we'll be going to that, of course, that would be some of the issues that shape this 10th Senate generally. Let me start by saying that the Senate was, this 10th Senate was inaugurated on June 13 in line with the proclamation issued by President Bola Tinubu. And after the new senators then took their oaths, they all performed their first duty by voting the president and the Senate president. So which was this Godswill Akpabio and Rao Jibrin, to cut the story short. So after that was how the Senate, the 10th Senate, that was how it began then. So after that, they started bringing up motions at the plenary. Many of their subjects are matters were based on security issues ranging from kidnapping, banditry, terrorism, and other insecurity issues ravaging the country and even beyond Nigeria. One of the issues one of the security issues beyond Nigeria were the rejection to deploy Nigerian troops to Nigeria Republic to restore democratic rule. We all know that story. Rather, the Senate they implore President Bola Tinubu to explore political solutions to the crisis rather than deploying military troops to Nigeria Republic. Then the other issue, which I think is also of general importance, is the vacation largesse, which the Senate President mistakenly uttered then. In August, the senators were proceeding for vacation. Then the Senate President mistakenly said that some money had been credited to their bank account to enjoy their holiday. Apparently, the Senate President had forgotten the press are covering. They were covering the proceeding that day. But I'm sure Nigeria still remember what played out after all that. But due to our own independent research and constitutional provision available to us, I can say that the vacation largesse of 2 million naira each was illegal because no such provision is made in the revenue package approved by RAMFAC. RAMFAC is the body authorized by law to prepare salaries and allocations for public servants. So it is interesting to note that although the lawmakers they are entitled to recess or vacation allowance under the law, which is 10% of the annual basic salary. It is 10%. What is the law mandate is 10% of legislature basic salary, and it is usually paid once in a year. Then going back to the RAMFAC package, what RAMFAC prepared is that a senator earns 2,026,400. That's annual. So, and therefore, going by the calculation, it implies that for that recess allowance, the senator gets. A senator gets 202,240 naira. That should be what the recess allowance ought to have been. But that was why we said it was illegal to have approved 2 million for each senator.
So, Mr. Ogundapo, let me interrupt you so that we move just a little. I mean, on the matter of the National Assembly and funding, financing, perhaps, I know it's a huge leap, we will see them open up their budget to scrutiny, at least maybe before this term is over, or some voices raise that as a matter of concern so that we actually get to a point where we're seeing the line items for the legislative arm. But I want to shift your attention for a bit. Just before, this was a couple of weeks ago or so, where there was a summons that was issued to the former Minister of Aviation, Hadi Sirika, to show up before a committee and answer for why the Nigeria Air project failed. Expectations are that we might see some other committees, whether it's in the lower house or the upper house, calling on previous government officials under the previous administration to also answer for their time in office. Do you see this happening? To what extent do you see the lawmakers actually diving into the previous administration?
What I want you to understand is that these people are politicians. They know how to go about whatever they want. They are politicians. And most of them were even involved in the previous administration. They were involved in how things were run then. So for me, I would say all that were just drama. All that were just drama, going to the TV, shouting and all that. Condemning the previous administration. To me, I feel it's just been dramatic. To be sincere, it's just been dramatic. Several ministers have appeared condemning the past administration that they were even part of, and even some of these senators, some of these lawmakers condemning the past administration that they were even solely part of. So to me, I feel it is just been dramatic. And after we've seen different situations whereby the lawmaker will just create sin, and at the end they will just go back. They know how to find their way around it. It's just been dramatic. I didn't see any positive thing coming out from it.
Well, I would like to thank you very much, Mr. Ogundakpo, for speaking with us this morning on this conversation. Mr. Abdul Kudus Ogundakpo is the National Assembly correspondent of the Premium Times, and he joined us to review the 10th National Assembly and the burning question of whether or not the budget will be signed in the new year. Now Breakfast continues with the news review in just a moment. Do stay with us.
This is Now Breakfast